Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. After Rebirth, I decided to return my fiancé to his beloved white moonlight. When he didn't want me to disturb his bachelor party for his white moonlight, I ran off to France alone. He said he was annoyed just by seeing me, so I promptly resigned. He felt uncomfortable being in the same country as me, and I immediately moved abroad. In the end, he wanted to give his white moonlight more security. I nodded and accepted someone else's marriage proposal. I listened to him over and over again, all because of a past life. After I married him, his white moonlight slit her wrists in despair. He blamed me for tearing them apart and killed me in the basement. This time I just want to live well. Later, when our family of 3 was out for a walk, he suddenly knelt before me, weeping as if his heart would break. "Celia, as long as you leave them, I'll be good to you and stay with you forever. Celia Asher is hosting a bachelorette party for Celeste tonight. Aren't you going?" Hearing my name, I jolted awake. Dazed, I looked at the friend who had spoken, her face filled with concern. "Have you and Asher been arguing lately? You've seemed distracted these past few days." I shook my head. Just then my phone rang. It was Asher calling. Seeing the familiar number, a wave of bitterness washed over me. It took me a long moment to finally answer the call. Asher's voice on the other end sounded distant and unfamiliar. He said flatly, "Celeste just broke up with her boyfriend. Tonight's gathering is strictly no partners. I don't want to make Celeste upset because of you." I bit my lips hard, the taste of blood lingering in my mouth, serving as a constant reminder. Asher kept talking on the other end, but I couldn't hear a single word. I interrupted Asher, suppressing my pain. Feigning calmness, I said, "I understand. I won't disturb you too. Besides, I have a work trip to France." Hearing my words, Asher paused, perhaps because for once I didn't argue with him about why I couldn't appear before Celeste, which left him somewhat surprised. After a few seconds, Asher's tone softened slightly. "You've grown up." My heart ached unbearably, and I desperately held back my tears, barely managing to keep them from spilling over. My friend beside heartbroken he would be. I turned and asked Asher, "What gives your white moonlight the right to ask me these questions?" Celeste gazed at Asher, her eyes filled with deep affection. A flicker of emotion flashed in Asher's eyes, and I sneered inwardly. Asher was still swayed by Celeste's words. Seeing my calm demeanor, Asher suddenly turned cold. "Mind your own business. If it weren't for your earlier meddling and stirring up trouble, Celia and I would have been married long ago, and we would have had children. By now," Asher continued. "Celia, be with me, okay? If you don't like her, I'll make her leave this place, leave this city, even leave this world, so she'll never be an eyesore to you again." Asher's gaze at me was full of lingering affection, while his eyes, when looking at Celeste, were brimming with disgust. In the past, I would have been overjoyed by this. It was proof of Asher's love for me. But now I couldn't muster even a shred of happiness. Instead, I just felt weary. Remembering the disdain I endured in my past life, my heart ached with bitterness. I shook my head. "Asher, I won't divorce you, nor will I reconcile with you. Don't hold on to illusions." Asher's expression grew colder. He grabbed Celeste's hair, banging her head on the ground before me, blood staining the dust. "Celia, what more do you want from me? Just divorce me, and I swear I'll love you more than Reed ever did. I won't leave you." I struggled, shaking my head frantically. Asher yanked me up, gritting his teeth and saying, "If you think you can leave me, you're dreaming." He lowered his head and kissed my lips. I felt nauseous. I struggled violently, then leaned over and retched. Asher was as if struck by lightning, his entire body frozen. "Celia, are you really so disgusted to be in contact with me?" I glared resentfully at his pale face, watching the pain and helplessness gradually spill from his eyes. He was crying. He was crying again. His lips trembled as if trying to speak, but no words came out. In the end, with reddened eyes, he crouched to the side. Suddenly, I remembered that day when I was 8 years old and I craved a bottle of cola. At the time, Asher ran out, and as it was raining, he tumbled many times. When he came to me, his face was bruised and swollen, but the cola in his arms was perfectly clean. He took off his jacket, handed me the cola, and grinned at me. Then I remembered when I was 18. Asher, blushing, took my hand and said to me, "I like you." At that moment, my heart felt like the heavy tolling of a bell relentlessly striking against my fragile heart. I looked into Asher's eyes, my face flushing as I was about to nod in agreement. But then I heard Asher excitedly say, "I'm going to confess to Celeste later. I'm just rehearsing with you first." My heart suddenly felt hollow as I stood there numbly, listening to Asher whispering sweet nothings. I tried to deceive myself into believing those words were meant for me, but every phrase he uttered was filled with love for Celeste. I couldn't ignore it. In the end, I stayed at a hotel, crying as I deleted every trace of Asher. Yet the very next day, I pathetically retrieved all those records one by one. The memories were vivid, but I no longer had feelings for Asher. "Asher, you're nothing but a madman." Asher covered his head, remaining silent for a long time, and suddenly apologized. "I'm sorry, Celia." His voice was gentle, just like in those 10 years when we were inseparable. But hearts are hidden behind flesh, and he hated me. Now I resent him. I force myself to calm down. "Asher, I've already parted on good terms. I don't want to care about the past anymore, nor do I want to dwell on it. You saved my life and I saved yours. We're even. I don't love you anymore. Kidnapping and illegal confinement are crimes. Why put yourself through this?" Asher gazed at the sunlight outside, sizing me up. Suddenly, he took out his phone and showed me a photo. It was a dazzling wedding dress, pure and sacred. "Celia, you would look so beautiful in this wedding dress, but I accidentally lost it." Watching the deranged Asher, my hair stood on end. "I don't love you anymore. I already have a husband and a child. Now what's done cannot be undone." The moment I finished speaking, Asher's expression suddenly twisted as he lunged forward, grabbing my neck. He hissed, "Celia, shut up or I won't mind dragging us both to hell. At least that way, no one can ever separate us again." The intense feeling of suffocation swallowed me whole. I coughed violently and Asher immediately loosened his grip, apologizing meekly. "I'm sorry, Celia. I didn't mean to." I looked at him with sorrow. Asher seemed to realize something as he stared at his own hand, then slammed it fiercely against the ground. Suddenly, a group of SWAT officers appeared at the staircase. At the sight of Reed, Asher yanked me up from the floor and pressed a knife against my neck. Reed was terrified. "Don't act rashly," he pleaded. Asher glared sinisterly at Reed. "Do you want to save Celia? Only one of you can live. Either you die with me, or I take Celia to her death." I shook my head. The sharp pain in my neck made Reed's heart ache. He shouted, "Let Celia go and I'll die with you." Asher watched coldly as Reed approached. He kissed my cheek, then pushed me toward Reed. With tears in my eyes, I clung tightly to Reed. Just as Reed and I were about to leave, the SWAT team moved to take Asher away. Suddenly, I heard Asher roar loudly, "Reed, cover her eyes." The next second, my world suddenly plunged into darkness. Then came Celeste's scream, followed by 2 muffled thuds. Reed held me tightly, his voice trembling. "Don't look, don't turn back." Step by step, I walked away from that unfamiliar place. When I saw light again, Reed hugged me tightly. Together, we left that painful place without looking back. Later, I never saw Asher again. The police told me that in the end, he used that knife to kill Celeste first, then stabbed himself 17 times. Every single thrust aimed precisely at his heart. Blood pooled on the floor, strikingly similar to that basement where he had drained my blood in our past life. Only this time the blood was his. I didn't go to identify the body, nor did I attend the funeral. I simply held my daughter, sitting on the swing in the backyard of France, watching her chase after fallen leaves. Reed wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on the crook of my shoulder and whispered, "What are you thinking about again?" After some thought, I answered honestly, "I was thinking that the debt has finally been repaid." The wind blew by, carrying the scent of lavender mixed with the sweetness of maple leaves as my daughter's sweet, childish voice called out, "Mommy, come catch me." I lowered my head and smiled, but tears fell without warning. Not because I was sad, but because I finally felt completely at ease. It turns out that rebirth isn't for revenge, nor is it meant to make wrongdoers regret their past deeds. Rebirth is simply the heavens returning the stolen life to you, handed back with their own hands. And as for me, I finally buried that scarred heart along with over a decade of love, hatred, and lingering attachments into the past once and for all. From now on, my name is Celia. I have loving parents, a husband who protects me for life, and a little angel who calls me Mom. I teach piano, tend to flowers, travel, and watch sunrises. I live like a flower finally allowed to bloom, never again overshadowed by someone else. As for Asher, he finally got his wish, buried beside his white moonlight. But on that tombstone, only his name is carved, alone. And me? I didn't even glance back.